I saw the call at 6:43 p.m. It lit up the top of her phone while it was face up on the kitchen counter. Melissa STO. Not Melissa. Not auto shop. Just that odd label, sterile, like something from a business directory. My first thought? Mistake. She probably meant to type Melissa Studio or store, maybe a new yoga place she liked. But the thing is, we don't know a Melissa. And we don't take our car to Melissa. We go to Uncle John's. Always have. I was setting the plates for dinner, just the two of us, salmon and asparagus, and she'd gone upstairs to grab a sweater. Her phone buzzed again. I don't normally snoop. I never had a reason to. But something about that name and the way my stomach dropped when I read it. I picked it up. The screen was still open to the notification preview. Melissa STO. When will he leave? That was the entire message. When will he leave? I stood there holding her phone like it was a foreign object, my heartbeat thudding in my ears. I didn't even notice the salmon starting to burn until the smoke alarm chirped once. I put the phone back exactly where it was. I turned off the stove. I opened a window. Then I stood still in the kitchen, trying to keep the world from tilting. She came downstairs a few minutes later wearing her soft gray cardigan and rubbing her arms like it was just any other Tuesday. It smells smoky, she said, opening the fridge for a sparkling water. Did it burn? A little, I said. Got distracted. She smiled like she always does, half amused, half tired. She's always been good at looking calm. We ate dinner. Talked about nothing. She told me about her boss being in a bad mood again, how the new girl in marketing still can't figure out the invoicing system. I nodded, asked the right questions, smiled back. I didn't mention the text. Not yet. I needed more. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone again, hands trembling a little. I don't like this version of myself, paranoid, sneaking, but I told myself it was justified. I told myself I wasn't looking for betrayal. I was trying to rule it out. The chat with Melissa STO wasn't listed in her recent threads. I scrolled further. Nothing. I opened her contacts. There was a Melissa STO listed with a 408 number and no photo. But when I tapped on the text history, empty. Not even the one I'd seen. The whole thread was gone. She deleted it. I checked again. Messages. WhatsApp. Signal. Even Google Voice. Nothing. Except, in her deleted voicemails, there was one from that same number. 31 seconds long. I hit play with my thumb, half expecting some robotic car service reminder. But it wasn't Melissa. It was a man. The voice was low, familiar, and, God help me, so intimate it made my skin crawl. You can't keep deleting our texts, he said. What if he sees your phone? Just tell him. Or at least keep him out of the house more. You said he works late. Don't lie to me, Hannah. Hannah. My wife. That voicemail had been deleted 4 days ago, which meant she'd heard it. She listened to that voice and still looked me in the eye. Still kissed me goodnight. Still cooked with me on Sunday. I didn't sleep that night. I lay beside her in bed, pretending to drift off, while she pulled the covers tighter and turned her back to me. I kept trying to place the voice. It was driving me insane. Something about it was familiar, but not quite close enough to place. The next morning, while she was brushing her teeth, I made a pot of coffee and stared out the kitchen window like everything was fine. Her phone buzzed once on the table beside me. Same number. No name this time. Just a message preview. For 08-672-9121. He's still there? Huh? That's when I knew. Not just that she was lying, but that whoever he was, he knew me. He knew I was in the picture. He was watching us, waiting for me to leave. That's what chilled me more than the cheating itself. This wasn't some fling. This was something she was keeping alive in secret. Something that involved coordination, patience, rehearsals. It was a second life, and I'd been living next to it, blind. By that afternoon, I was already planning. I forwarded the voicemail to myself, wrote the number down on a sticky note, and stashed it inside a folded tax document in the study drawer. I didn't say anything to Hannah. I wanted to know how deep this went. So I did what I thought I'd never do. I took her phone when she was out getting groceries. I installed a hidden app, keystroke logger, screenshot captures, remote mirror. I told myself it was for my sanity. It took 3 days for the truth to unravel. Melissa STO didn't exist. That was the fake name. The number belonged to Evan Holbrook, my coworker, my friend. He came to our 4th of July barbecue, held my baby niece while Hannah brought out cupcakes. We watched football together last fall. He helped me pick out the damn sound system I installed in the basement. And now? Now he was texting my wife at 2 a.m. while I lay asleep 10 feet away, telling her how he misses the taste of her, how he dreams about taking her away, how they'll never have to pretend once I'm out of the picture. When will he leave? That wasn't just a question. It was a plan. By the time I saw Evan again, I already knew too much. I knew the messages had started in early March, just after Hannah had a sudden car issue that took her to a shop on the edge of town, one I'd never heard of. STO? It wasn't a business. It was a label, something she used to hide the contact from me. I knew their first love happened in the alley behind that place. He wrote about it in detail. The taste of motor oil still on her lips. How she left her panties under his seat like a secret handshake. I knew about the burner phone she kept in the back of her closet in a shoe box marked old cards. I found it one morning when she was on a walk, tucked next to some faded birthday cards from people we didn't talk to anymore. It was still warm when I powered it on. That phone had a full history, hundreds of texts, voice notes, a picture of her in my flannel shirt, biting her lip, sitting on our couch while I was supposedly at the gym. She didn't just cheat. She built a world for it. A parallel life that ran beneath ours, quiet and coiled like a wire. I started noticing small things. How her tone shifted when she got a call and stepped out of the room. The way she double-locked her phone after every text. Her sudden interest in volunteering on Tuesday nights. Her urge to shower the second she got home. And Evan, he was always around. Subtle, quiet, just close enough to be forgettable. He made it easy. He wore friendship like camouflage. I almost confronted him the next time we met. It was at work, in the break room, standing under the hum of fluorescent lights while the coffee sputtered out in short, angry bursts. He handed me a cup and smiled. "How's Hannah?" he asked. I looked up. The way he said it, like it was a joke, like there was something laced under it. He watched me too closely, his face too neutral, waiting for a crack. "She's good," I said. "We're talking about a vacation." "Nice," he said too quickly. Then he leaned against the counter and sipped his coffee. "Somewhere warm." I didn't blink. Not sure yet. Still deciding where to go. "You know Hannah. She likes the cold. Maybe somewhere quiet." He smiled again. But this time, I saw something slip in his eyes. He thought he was winning. I watched him walk away, back toward his desk like nothing was wrong, and I felt the first flicker of something colder than anger. Control. That night, I started copying everything. Messages, audio files, photos. I stored them in a folder on a flash drive hidden in the air vent in my home office. I backed that up to cloud storage under a random email address she'd never guess. I wasn't just going to catch them. I was going to watch them implode. Hannah still kissed me goodbye every morning. Still asked about my day. Still called me babe. She didn't know I'd seen everything. She didn't know that I listened to her tell Evan she was afraid of hurting me, and then minutes later tell him she couldn't stop imagining their new life without me. She even joked once about moving the body. I didn't know if it was metaphorical or real, but I started checking the locks twice before bed. I started sleeping with my phone on record mode, just in case. A week later, she said she was going to visit her sister in Portland for the weekend. Alone. No invite. "You've been working so hard," she said, brushing her fingers over my collar like she still loved me. "I just need a break." I nodded. "Of course," I said. "You deserve it." But she never went to Portland. Her phone location said she drove west, stayed at a rental cabin near Point Reyes for 3 nights. The same nights Evan used his PTO at work and didn't tell anyone where he was going. I didn't say a word when she came back. She kissed me at the door. Her cheeks were flushed. Her voice was soft. She said she missed me, but she never made eye contact. I watched her unpack like she was performing. One sweater, one book, a face mask she didn't use. Her suitcase smelled faintly of his cologne, a scent I recognized from a jacket he used to leave on his desk. I went upstairs and vomited quietly into the toilet. Then I washed my face. I looked myself in the mirror for a long time. That night, I sent the first anonymous message. From a burner app. New number. No trace. Just a single line. He knows. I sent it to Evan. Not Hannah. Let her stay in the dark. He replied 10 minutes later. Who is this? I didn't answer. I watched the typing dots appear, vanish, appear again. Then a new message. Is this a joke? And then, how much do you know? Still, I said nothing. 2 hours later, he deleted his Instagram, then his Facebook, then his LinkedIn. I watched his digital life shrink. Panic looks like silence when it's cornered. But Hannah? She didn't flinch. Because he didn't tell her. Not yet. He was trying to manage it. Trying to decide if it was real or just a scare. He didn't know that every step he took, I was already 2 ahead. The next few days were almost boring. Hannah went about her routines with a kind of brittle cheer, like a hostess trying to save a dinner party no one wanted to attend. She cooked more often, left candles burning longer, laughed louder. None of it felt real. It was all performance. I realized then, people don't just lie with words. They lie with tone, with timing, with rhythm. And Hannah's rhythm had changed. She called me honey again, a word she hadn't used in 6 months. Started putting her phone face down instead of face up. Stopped wearing the perfume I once bought her for Christmas, the one Evan once commented smelled expensive. And she stopped talking about the future. I didn't bring up the trip, didn't mention her sister, didn't ask how Portland was. I wanted to see how long she'd pretend. I wanted to see if guilt would crack her before I did. But Evan, he was unraveling. I created another burner number and started texting him from a new angle. More direct. A little colder. How's the cabin? That one landed like a dart. He didn't reply, but within hours I saw him in the parking garage at work, pacing behind his car with his phone glued to his ear. He was arguing with someone. Voice low but urgent, hands slicing the air. The next day, he called in sick. Then the next. Then HR sent an email that he was on personal leave. Hannah said nothing. If she noticed his absence, she didn't mention it. She scrolled Instagram more. Made playlists like she was trying to fill her brain with noise. That Friday night, she came into the living room after her shower and sat next to me on the couch. Too close. The steam still clung to her skin. You've been quiet lately, she said. I looked at her. The softness in her eyes was almost convincing. Almost. Just tired, I said. Everything okay at work? I paused. Yeah. Evan's out, though? Sick or something? A flicker crossed her face, so fast I almost missed it. A tiny tightening around her mouth, a flutter of lashes. Then she nodded. Oh. Huh. I didn't know. Didn't know? She said it like she meant it. I smiled. You two used to talk more, I thought. She shrugged. Not really. Not outside of group stuff. I nodded slowly. Right. The lie hung there between us like a ghost. I let it float. She didn't know I'd already traced her location data to the cabin. Didn't know I'd pulled security footage from a nearby gas station showing Evan refueling at 11 p.m. before heading back to town. Didn't know I had 3 screenshots of them exchanging photos on the burner app she thought was deleted. She thought I was still asleep. But what she didn't understand was that betrayal has a smell. It lingers. It clings to your clothes, to your breath. It turns silence into signal. That weekend, I made my first real move. I met with a private investigator. Not the cheap kind. This guy was ex-law enforcement. He wore silence like a badge. Didn't ask why I wanted details. Just nodded and told me he'd need a week. Focus on her, I said. Not him. I already know who he is. I want to know who she becomes when I'm not looking. He nodded again. You expecting something violent? No, I said. I'm expecting something meticulous. By Tuesday, he had the first round of files. Afternoon meetups at the park. Phone calls from a second number. Deleted purchases on a shared account that only showed up in itemized bank exports, not the app. Receipts from a liquor store near Evan's apartment. A single Uber ride to a storage unit under her maiden name. That one threw me. A storage unit? Why would she need one? I drove out that night. Parked across from the facility and watched. Nothing happened. No sign of her. But the unit was real. Rented 6 months ago. Paid in full. Under the radar. I didn't try to access it. Not yet. Instead, I walked the rows of units, breathing in the cold metallic silence, trying to imagine what secrets my wife had packed into a space that wasn't meant to be seen. I went home before midnight. She was already asleep. Her side of the bed smelled faintly of eucalyptus and something else I couldn't place. Something sour. That night, I had a dream. I was in our kitchen, watching her smile at me across the table, and she opened her mouth to speak, but Evan's voice came out. The same words from the voicemail. Just keep him out of the house more. I woke up sweating. The next morning, I couldn't stop staring at her toothbrush. It wasn't just the cheating anymore. It was the audacity, the precision, the emotional theater she performed every day, right under my nose. The little jokes, the careful touches, the I'm just tired sighs after a long day of lying. And still, she hadn't cracked. But Evan had. I sent one more message. It's over. She's mine. He called that number 5 minutes later. I didn't pick up. Then he called again. Then once more, and left a voicemail. The voice that had once sounded so smug now sounded different. Breathy. Frantic. Is this about Hannah? I don't know who you are, but if she's told you something, if this is a setup, I swear I didn't force anything. She came to me. She said you were distant. She said you didn't see her anymore. Pause. I didn't mean for this to happen. Another pause. Shorter. Sharper. Please. Just talk to me. Please. I saved the voicemail. Labeled it confession. Then I sat in the dark of my office, sipping cold coffee, staring at the document I'd started compiling. A digital war chest. Screenshots. Audio files. GPS data. Purchase records. A full breakdown of every betrayal. I didn't know yet what I'd do with it, but I knew this much. They'd written me off. They thought I'd never notice. They forgot I listened better when I stopped speaking. 3 days later, I stood outside the storage unit with bolt cutters in the trunk and a choice on my tongue. The private investigator had finished his sweep. She hadn't been there in over a month. Maybe longer. But something about it, something about the fact that she rented it in her maiden name, that it wasn't on any shared credit history, that she never once mentioned it, kept gnawing at me. It wasn't just a hiding place. It was a vault. A time capsule for the version of herself she couldn't let me see. I waited until a slow Thursday morning. She was at work, or said she was, and I had enough PTO to vanish without raising flags. The manager at the storage place was barely interested, young, distracted, didn't even glance at the fake name on the ID I used to get a tour pass. Unit 238. 5 rows back, second from the corner. Tucked between 2 rusted roll-ups. It smelled like dust and cold plastic. I opened the door. At first, it looked like nothing. A couple boxes, a chair with a broken leg, a duffel bag. But I know my wife. Hannah doesn't store junk. She curates. Even her chaos is deliberate. I open the first box. Books. Old ones. Textbooks from college. A few photo albums. All things she'd told me she'd donated years ago. But here they were. Pages still dog-eared. Her old name still scribbled on the inside cover in black pen. Hannah Wills. Before she became Hannah Taylor. The second box had clothing. A few sweaters. A dress I once complimented that she said she lost on a trip. But that wasn't what stopped me. At the bottom was a smaller box. Taped shut. Marked only with the letter E. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Some printed. Some handwritten. Every single one addressed to Evan Holbrook. I didn't read them all. Just one. The earliest one. Evan, you probably won't ever read this. It's stupid to write it. But I need to say it somewhere. You make me feel awake again. Like someone's finally paying attention. He's kind. But he's asleep. I live in a house of habits. You see me. Even when I don't want to be seen. If we weren't who we are, I think I could love you. That letter was dated nearly 2 years ago. Before the car troubles. Before the fake contact names. Before the lies became architecture. She'd loved him longer than she admitted. She'd chosen him long before the first message. Every part of it. Every rationalization. Every denial. It all lived here. In ink. In her own words. The duffel bag had more. Lingerie. Candles. A bottle of wine I'd been searching for last Christmas. But what gutted me wasn't any of that. It was the Polaroids. A stack of them. Tied with twine. Cheap film shots of her and Evan in places I recognized. The park downtown. The overlooked trail we used to hike together. My jacket on her shoulders. Her lips on his. They weren't just having an affair. They were building something. And I had been erased. Replaced. The worst photo? Them in our kitchen. Laughing. Her sitting on the counter, a wine glass in her hand. My cutting board in the background. The clock above the stove showing the time. 2:14 p.m. That was the day I'd gone to see my mother in the hospital. The day Hannah said she had food poisoning and just needed to rest. I sat down on the cold concrete floor. The Polaroids in my lap. The storage unit swallowing the sound of my breath. The humiliation felt bigger than pain. It was surgical, clean, like watching someone disassemble your life with gloves on. I don't remember how long I sat there, but eventually I packed the photos, the letters, and the wine into a new bag. I didn't take everything, just enough. Enough to remind her that I knew the story she was trying to bury. I left the unit exactly as I found it. Shut the door. Drove home. She was already back, her coat draped over the couch, barefoot in the kitchen, pouring a glass of that cheap red wine she likes. I set the bag gently on the table. She turned. What's that? I didn't say anything. Just opened the zipper. She froze. I watched her expression shift in layers. Confusion, recognition, panic, then silence. She reached for the wine again. Her hand trembled just slightly. I can explain. I nodded. Please do. But she didn't. Not really. She just sat down at the table and looked at the Polaroids like they were photos of someone else. It wasn't supposed to get this far, she said finally. It was just something I needed. I studied her face. 2 years. Her eyes dropped. Maybe more. Why him? She looked up then. Her eyes were glassy, but there were no tears. Because he listened. Because I didn't feel like I had to be someone around him. And around me? She didn't answer. That silence was louder than anything she could have said. I reached into my pocket and slid the flash drive across the table. This is everything, I said. Messages, photos, location data, voicemails, including the one where he said you wanted me out of the picture. Her hand stopped midway to the glass. I never said that. Didn't need to. You implied it. Over and over. In every lie you told. She started to say something. then stopped. I stood up. I'm not asking you to explain, I said. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm just letting you know. I'm done playing the fool. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The glass in her hand tilted slightly, spilling red across the table. It looked like blood. I walked out of the room. She didn't follow. 3 weeks after I found the storage unit, I filed for divorce. No screaming. No theatrics. Just papers. Signed, sealed, delivered to the office of her oblivious family lawyer, who probably still thought we were some model couple with a shared Spotify account and weekend plans at the farmer's market. The day I handed them in, she wasn't home. I made sure of that. I needed space to clean things out. My clothes, my books, my tools. The framed photo of my dad that she once knocked over and didn't bother to pick up. I didn't take much, just what was mine before her. The house felt sterile without her voice in it. Too quiet, like it was waiting for someone to shout. But I didn't. I packed everything in silence. When I left, I took her key off my ring and laid it on the kitchen counter, next to the Polaroid of her and Evan on our porch. I didn't even bother to put it back in the envelope. I wanted her to see it as soon as she walked in. Wanted her to know I wasn't hiding anymore. That night, I slept at my friend Mason's place. His couch, a stiff pillow, a window that rattled when trucks passed, but it felt more like home than anything had in months. I didn't hear from her for days. Then Evan cracked again. It started with an email. Subject, what are you doing? The body was short. Just one line. This isn't you, man. That was the moment I realized he still didn't get it. He thought I was trying to win her back, or punish her, or negotiate. He thought there were still rules to follow. He didn't understand what happens when you take everything from someone who had nothing but you. I replied with a single attachment, the voicemail, the one where he told her to keep me out of the house more. I didn't write anything else. He replied 10 minutes later, please don't do this. Then again, she's not who you think she is. Then finally, can we talk? I ignored them all. The next day, HR called me in. They'd received a complaint. Not about me. About Evan. Apparently he's been erratic, they said. Mentioned you. Said you were threatening him. I leaned back in the chair and smiled, just slightly. Did he file anything official? No, they admitted. Just implied things. Said he might take legal steps. I shook my head. Sounds like paranoia. They watched me carefully. I kept my voice even, my face calm. After all, I hadn't sent the voicemail from my work email. Hadn't used company time. Hadn't made any threats. I just let the truth land where it belonged. That Friday, Evan didn't show up for work. Then Monday. Then Tuesday. Word got around. He was on leave again. Possibly not coming back. Hannah, meanwhile, sent me an email. Subject, just talk to me. The message was long. Half apology, half elegy. She wrote about the early years. About how she loved the way I folded her towels and made grocery lists by aisle. About how she felt small inside herself and Evan made her feel loud again. How she hated herself. How she hated me. How she hated the version of us we became. But most of all, she said, she hated that it didn't feel like a mistake. I read it twice, then archived it. I didn't reply. There was no point. She wasn't looking for forgiveness. She was looking for relief. I wouldn't give it to her. The next part came faster than I expected. Evan's wife, yes, wife emailed me. Subject line, you're not alone. I opened it in the middle of the night, alone in a dim guest room, wrapped in a blanket that didn't smell like anyone. Hi, Jacob. I don't know if this is out of line, but I think you deserve to know Evan's been doing this for a long time. You're not the first. Probably not the last. I found your name in one of his message backups. It took me weeks to decide if I should reach out. But then I saw a photo of your wife. I recognized her. I'm sorry. For everything. She attached a document. An export of Evan's chats from a backup app she'd cracked. It wasn't just Hannah. There were 3 others. 1 local, 2 out of state. All married. All tangled in his web. All convinced they were different. I stared at the names. The messages. The emojis. The same words he used on Hannah. Like a script. You feel like home. You're the only real thing in my life. We can make this work. He doesn't see you. He said it to all of them. A scavenger. A collector of neglected hearts. I sent the document to Hannah without a word. She didn't reply. The next day, her Facebook status changed to taking a break from social media. The day after that, her number was disconnected. She disappeared. Maybe to escape the shame. Maybe to stay with one of the other ghosts Evan had haunted. Maybe just to silence the world that now saw her. But I didn't chase her. Instead, I emailed Evan. Subject, what I know. Inside, I pasted 3 lines. I know about your wife. I know about the other women. And I know exactly where you were the day your daughter was born. Because one of the messages I read, buried in a deleted thread, was a photo timestamped July 19th, 1:12 p.m. Evan and Hannah in a hotel room, her wrapped in sheets, him grinning at the camera. The same day, he told his wife he was caught at a work emergency. His daughter was born at 4:53 p.m. He almost missed it. For my wife. I sent the photo along with it. No words. No threats. Just evidence. Let him rot. Let the walls close in. Let the life he built on lies collapse, inch by inch. I moved out of Mason's place 2 months after the divorce was finalized. Not because I needed space, but because I needed stillness. Silence without the echo of someone else's grief. He'd been good to me, but every time I walked into his kitchen, I still half expected to see Hannah. Her silhouette against our old countertops. Her voice saying my name like it meant something. I found a rental in a smaller town 2 hours north. A house with chipped paint, a leaky faucet, and more land than I knew what to do with. I liked it for the same reasons most people wouldn't. It felt temporary, unassuming, forgotten. Exactly how I needed the world to see me. The day I moved in, I unpacked 1 box, just the essentials. A coffee mug. A few clothes. My father's photo. The rest I left sealed, stacked in the corner like ghosts I wasn't ready to unpack. I deleted the burner accounts. Deleted the backup drive. Shredded the printouts. But I kept the letters. Not out of sentimentality, but because they were proof that the story was real. That I hadn't imagined it. That someone once loved me enough to lie. There's a strange kind of freedom in betrayal. It robs you of your illusions. It strips the people around you down to their rawest selves. Their greed. Their cowardice. Their wants. Their broken pieces. And once you've seen that, it's hard to go back. Hard to pretend. I stopped pretending. I started walking more. Mornings. Evenings. When the air was cold enough to sting and the roads were empty. I'd pass neighbors who didn't know my name, and I liked it that way. They didn't see the man who got cheated on. They saw a man with too much time and too few words. That's who I was now. A man with silence as armor. Evan tried reaching out again. One last time. A single text. From a number I didn't recognize. I lost everything. You happy now? I didn't reply. I didn't need to be happy. I just needed to know he finally saw the damage in full daylight. That he understood what it means to make yourself a god in someone else's marriage and then be humbled by the wreckage you leave behind. As for Hannah, I haven't seen her since the morning I left her key on the counter. I heard she moved to Arizona, that she teaches yoga now, that she stopped coloring her hair, that she's seeing someone new. Not Evan, some guy who sells solar panels. A friend of a friend told me she doesn't talk about me. Not really. She just says, it ended. Things happen. Things happen. As if love is a weather pattern. As if cheating is an accident you back into with your eyes closed and your hands full. But I've stopped trying to make her understand. She's not the same person I build a life with. Maybe she never was. The real Hannah existed in between the lines of those letters. in the way she smiled when she thought I wasn't looking, in the way she rehearsed every goodbye. And part of me mourns her, not the cheater, the version I married before the rot set in. There's no revenge in this ending, no grand confrontation, no social media takedown, no public humiliation, just a clean break, a long silence, a slow rebuilding. Some days are harder than others. I still reach for my ring sometimes, out of habit. Still wake up expecting a second pillow, the sound of her in the kitchen, humming out of tune. But I'm learning that betrayal doesn't ruin you. It reveals you. And when the dust finally settles, when the lies fade and the echoes die down, all you're left with is what you build next. A cup of coffee, a quiet house, a name you can say out loud without shaking. That's enough. For now, that's enough. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.